What if I told you that BMW almost didn't exist? That in 1959 they were almost on the verge of bankruptcy? But at the very last moment, one bold move and an investor who saw something that no one else did changed everything. This is an insane true story of how BMW went from bankruptcy to beating Mercedes at their own game. BMW wasn't always about fast cars and luxury sedans. In fact, it didn't even start out with cars at all. The company was founded in 1916 and made aircraft engines, and not just any engines, some of the best in the world. During World War I and II, BMW's engines powered German fighter planes, earning them a reputation for precision engineering and high performance. But after the war, everything fell apart. The Allies banned BMW from making aircraft, and the company was left with nothing. Factories were bombed, production halted, and the future of BMW seemed bleak. With no planes to build, BMW had to scramble to survive. They tried making motorcycles, kitchen appliances, and even bicycles, anything to keep the company afloat. But that wasn't going to sustain them forever. Eventually, they turned their attention to cars, and in 1951, BMW made its big return to the automotive world with the BMW 501. There was just one problem. No one in post-war Germany could afford it. The country was still rebuilding, and the last thing people wanted was an expensive luxury car. Sales were terrible, and BMW were losing money. A lot of it. Realizing that luxury wasn't working, BMW decided to pivot in the opposite direction. Instead of big, expensive sedans, they went small. Really small. Enter the BMW Isetta, the tiny, quirky bubble car that looked like it belonged in a cartoon. It had a single front door that swung open like a fridge, a tiny engine, and just enough space for 2 people and maybe a bag of groceries. It was cheap, fuel efficient, and practical. Surprisingly, it sold well. The Isetta kept BMW alive for a while. But there was a major problem. This wasn't what BMW was meant to be. It was no longer an engineering masterpiece. It wasn't a driver's car. BMW was now stuck making economy cars. And that wasn't them. By 1959, things had gotten worse. BMW was drowning in debt. Their factories were underutilized. Their luxury cars weren't selling, and their microcars weren't making enough money. It was a disaster. The company was running out of options, and that's when Mercedes-Benz saw its opportunity. At the time, Mercedes was Germany's dominant luxury car brand, and they had no interest in letting BMW become a serious competitor, so they made their move. Their plan was simple: buy out BMW, shut down its car division, and absorb whatever was left into Mercedes. If that had happened, BMW as we know it today would have ceased to exist. Inside the BMW headquarters, the atmosphere was tense. Executives sat in the boardrooms, looking at the numbers. The debt was overwhelming. The shareholders were panicking. The easiest choice was to sell. Many in the company saw no way out, and the Mercedes offer seemed like it was the only option. It looked like the end of the road. But just when it seemed like BMW was about to be swallowed up, one man refused to let it happen. And his name was Herbert Quandt. Quandt wasn't just any other businessman. He was a visionary. He saw something in BMW that others didn't. While most investors were looking at the company's losses, Quandt saw potential. He believed BMW could become something more, something different, and he wasn't willing to let Mercedes kill it. So he made a bold, game-changing decision. Quandt invested heavily in BMW, buying enough shares to take control and block the Mercedes takeover. Overnight, BMW had a second chance, but stopping the takeover wasn't enough. Now, BMW had to prove it could actually survive. With new leadership in place, BMW had to reinvent itself. The company needed a car that could define its identity, attract new buyers, and generate real profits. The solution? The BMW 1500. Released in 1961, this was the car that saved BMW. It wasn't a luxury sedan, and it wasn't a microcar. It was something in between. A sporty, well-engineered, fun-to-drive compact sedan that was unlike anything else on the market. It had sharp handling, a responsive engine, and a design that felt modern and exciting. It was the first true BMW. The reaction was immediate. People loved the 1500. Sales skyrocketed, and BMW was finally making money, for the first time in years. The company wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. And the 1500 wasn't just a success, it set the stage for something even bigger. The car that would change everything. The BMW 2002, Released in 1968, the 2002 was a revelation. It was fast, lightweight and fun to drive, a true driver's car. It redefined what a compact sports sedan could be and attracted a whole new audience. Suddenly, BMW wasn't just another German car company. It was a brand that stood for performance, engineering and driving excitement. The 2002 became an icon and laid the foundations for what would become BMW's most successful car of all time, the 3 Series. In 1975, BMW launched the first generation 3 Series. It was an instant hit. It combined luxury, sportiness and practicality in a way no other car had before. It became BMW's best-selling model, cementing the company's place as the global leader in the performance sedans. The 3 Series became a benchmark, the car that competitors, especially Mercedes, had to measure themselves against. BMW had not only survived, but it had completely transformed itself. However, they didn't just rest on its success, they doubled down. In 1978, BMW introduced the M Division, their high-performance motorsport arm, and with it, the legendary BMW M1. This mid-engine supercar was unlike anything BMW had ever built before. It was sleek, aggressive, and designed to dominate both the streets and the racetrack. While the M1 itself had a short production run, it laid the foundation for something much bigger, the BMW M3. Launched in 1986, the first generation M3 became an instant icon, winning championships in touring car racing and redefining what a high-performance sports sedan could be. The M3 became the gold standard, and each new generation continued to push the limits on what's possible. At the same time, BMW wasn't just focused on speed, it was expanding its reach. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, the company made a bold move into the luxury SUV market with the BMW X5. Many doubted whether BMW, a brand known for sports sedans, could succeed in the SUV space. But the X5 proved them wrong. It combined the practicality of an SUV with the driving dynamics of a sports car, creating an entirely new category, the sports luxury SUV. This innovation paid off, and today, BMW's X line of SUVs makes up a huge portion of their global sales. Whether it was high-performance sedans, luxury SUVs, or the latest advancements in technology and hybrid tech, BMW kept evolving, proving that its near bankruptcy in 1959 was just the beginning of an even greater story. As BMW moved into the 2000s, it continued refining its most legendary models while introducing new ones that would shape the future of the brand. The E46 M3 became one of the most celebrated BMWs of all time, featuring a 3.2-litre inline-six, producing 333 horsepower and a near-perfect chassis balance that made it an enthusiast's favourite. This was followed by the E92 M3, which broke tradition by introducing a 4-litre naturally aspirated V8, a high-revving masterpiece that made the car an instant classic. Meanwhile, the E39 M5 set the benchmark for performance sedans with its 4.9-litre V8 delivering 394 horsepower. These cars weren't just successful, they became icons, forever defining BMW's reputation for building the ultimate driving machines. They continued evolving its most famous models while introducing new ones that would redefine its legacy. The F30 3 Series became one of BMW's best-selling models, modernizing the brand with turbocharged efficiency, improved interior technology, and a more refined driving experience. Meanwhile, the F80 M3 introduced turbocharging to the M3 for the first time, featuring a 3-litre twin-turbo inline-six with 425 horsepower, later bumped up to 444 horsepower in the competition package. The F82 M4, its two-door counterpart, carried the same formula into the coupe segment, replacing the M3 coupe and bringing a bolder design with it. BMW continued expanding its performance lineup with the F90 M5, the first M5 to feature xDrive all-wheel drive, making it the fastest and most capable version yet. The G20 3 Series brought back sharper handling after criticism of its predecessor, while the G80 M3 and the G82 M4 pushed the limits of BMW's performance with over 500 horsepower in the competition variants. Today, BMW is one of the most valuable and recognized car brands in the world. The company is worth billions, and its cars are driven by millions. But if things had just gone a little differently in 1959, BMW wouldn't exist today. No M3, no 3 Series, no ultimate driving machine. It was a near-death experience that forced BMW to fight for its survival and come out stronger than ever.